recording from Marion County on KMUZ Turner. This is Waste Matters on the Air, the show that talks trash about waste and how to prevent it.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's the second Thursday of the month, so you must be listening to Waste Matters on the Air, KMUZ 88.5 or 100.7 FM, the show that trashes waste and how to prevent it. I'm your host, Alan Pennington, a waste reduction coordinator with Marion County Environmental Services, and I'm here in my brand new home studio today with my phone-in guest, Elise Ballman, Executive Director of Salem Harvest, who's going to fill us in on what she does and the latest info on Salem Harvest. So why are we chatting today? Well, according to the Guardian newspaper, Americans waste about a pound of food per person each day, with those who have the healthiest diets, rich in fruits and vegetables, being the most wasteful. All in all, about 150,000 tons of food is tossed out in each U.S. household each day. Yes, I'm going to repeat that. 150,000 tons of food is tossed out in American households every day, which is equivalent to about a third of the daily calories that each of us consume. Fruit and vegetables were the ones most likely to be thrown out, followed by dairy and then meat. A study concluded by the U.S. Department of Ag found that the healthiest Americans are the most wasteful because of their high consumption of fruits and vegetables, which are frequently tossed. Fruit and vegetables require less land to grow than other foods, such as meat, but they require a large amount of water and pesticides. So besides being wasteful as far as just the calories there's those other impacts. Another study published by the Journal of Nutritional and Dietetics found some eye-popping numbers, and those are 31 to 40% of our food is thrown away after it's harvested. For each person, that's more than 1,200 calories per person per day. So where is all this loss coming from? Well, it's kind of a process, an industrial process in a sense, and there are energy inputs and waste created all along that stream of production. With food, it's in the harvest, the storage, processing it, marketing, and consumer use or lack of. So it comes down to this, my oh my. So many places to lose something that so many people constantly don't have enough of. But it's giving us a lot to think about during our short radio show today. And fortunately, we're going to be able to focus on part of that production change, the harvest. And so with us today is our guest, Elise Ballman, who's the director of Salem Harvest. So, Elise, can you give us a little background about yourself and how you ended up as the director of Salem Harvest?
For sure, Alan. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here today and talk about Salem Harvest and all that we do. So I grew up in a small town in southern Nevada where you got to eat what you grew, and if you grew too much, you got to share what you grew. So it was an agricultural community. I worked on my grandfather's small farm, and I never thought I'd end up in agriculture, to be honest, especially in the area that I am, which is very unique. I'm just going to say that, very unique. When I moved up to Salem, I had finished school, and I was working in an engineering firm for 15, 16 years, volunteering with Salem Harvest for a few of those last years. And then it just came to me that if we're going to survive Salem Harvest as an organization, somebody needed to take it on full time. So I quit my day job, as they would say, and started working as executive director of Salem Harvest in 2016 as their full-time employee, the one and only, still to this point. Although I have to say, we do have an intern this year, so it's pretty exciting.
Always helpful, yeah. So what is it that Salem Harvest does?
So we work with growers, and we go out into the community, well, and backyard owners as well. And we go out to the different sites where the food is, and it's in excess, or it's not going to be used, or doesn't have a market. And we take out volunteers, and we harvest the food that's just there, going to go to waste. It doesn't have a place. So we just go out and take volunteers, harvest that. Volunteers get to take home a portion for their family's use. and the majority goes off to feed other hungry families here in our community.
Okay. So when you do that, when you take it and you say, okay, now we're going to get this to other people in the community, how does that get into their hands?
Through existing distribution systems like Marion Polk Food Share, or sometimes it even leaves our county. It'll go over to YCAP or down into Lane County sometimes. We also work with smaller agencies like Hope Station, and a new one this year is Salem for Refugees, a new partner that we're working with. We're finding those agencies that need the food, have hungry families and hungry people that they need to get food to, and we just donate to them, and they put it into their systems.
Yeah, and you think that with the current state of the kind of lockdown that we've all gone through and whatnot, that has this made it worse for hunger, or has it had an impact at all? Has it changed anything?
I think it has. I don't know if it's made it worse for really like homelessness. I'm not sure if it's affected that much, but what I am seeing is it's making tight budgets, people who are on tight budgets to begin with, maybe a little more constrained, a little less free money floating around to buy unnecessary items. Things like, fresh produce from the farmer's market, or maybe even fresh produce at the grocery store. It's just clamping down. It's just tightening their budgets a little more. That's what I've been seeing.
Yeah, certainly prices at the grocery stores have really gone up, especially with certain, selected products. But
yeah,
that would be a struggle for sure. So how did you guys get started? How did Salem Harvest come to exist?
We started in 2010, so 10 years ago is when we started. I cannot believe it. Woo-hoo. And we started as a backyard project in the South Salem neighborhood. And neighbors were just had so much fruit in their trees, they would harvest it. They didn't know what else to do with it, so they invited their neighbors over to help harvest, and they started these little harvest parties, is what they called them. And then they found out they couldn't use the food all in their neighborhood, so they started donating it at Union Gospel Mission, and maybe Samanka Place, Salvation Army, just to give it new life, have it be used rather than just lie on the sidewalk going to waste.
Yeah. And so when you guys are harvesting, what are you finding are the most common crops that you guys are harvesting?
You bet. We harvest generally about 20 different varieties of crops in the valley here. Most popular, and I don't know, I'll name some. It's so much fun just to name some.
Sure.
So, of course, strawberries, cherries, blueberries, squash, believe it or not, watermelon, plums, apples, pears. Here's an interesting one we got to do last year. Aronia berries, Alan. Aronia berries. Can you believe that?
I've never heard of them, but sure.
They're great for cancer fighting, and they have so many awesome things in them, and then they taste very unique.
Okay.
Once in a while, persimmons, grapes. I don't know. It's just 20 different garlic. We've harvested garlic in the past. You just name it, and we probably harvested it.
So I made the mistake. I should have just said, "What do you not harvest?" And you could have said, like mangoes and I don't know, guavas.
Mangoes and pineapples. We haven't harvested those yet.
Well, I always tell people that are new to the area, I say, you're living in the Garden of Eden here, because you can grow just about anything in the Willamette Valley. And I think that's a testament to that statement. So Elise, when you've got all these, you find out that well, first of all, how do you find out? I mean, how do you even find out that there's food to be picked?
We work with about 50 or so growers here in the valley. They have our phone number. And they just give us a call and they say, hey, we've got bell peppers just sitting over here in a field in Silverton. Can you come check them out and see if you can use them? That sort of thing. It's a working relationship with growers and backyards. We have a link on our website that you can also, instead if you don't have our phone number and you want to do it online, you can just click the link that says donate a tree or something like that. And you can just make that make that contact that way. And then to get new growers on board, we just, it's usually one grower or one neighbor talking to another grower or neighbor, just sharing the information about how they are saving food from going to waste.
So that's pretty good advertising when you go, mouth to mouth like that. That's pretty cool stuff. So how do people know how do they know to pick crops? I mean, how do you match them up? So because you got to be, you're going to need 20 pickers to get strawberries on this Saturday, for example. And how does that work?
Yeah. On our website, first off, you have to be a registered volunteer with Salem Harvest, and super easy. You just jump on our website, www.salemharvest.org, and you just jump on there. You hit the register or the volunteer button, and then fill out the form. And it's about 4 or 5 questions. Get that filled out, and then you're a registered volunteer. And then on our harvest page on our website, you just click on the harvest button. That's where we list the harvests that are coming up, that are available, something in the near future, because we don't get very much notice when we're going to have a harvest coming up. We never know. We usually have about 2 or 3 day advance notice of when something's going to be ready to harvest. You just watch the page, and when there's a harvest that comes up that you want to go to, and there's room on the roster, you just click the button and then your name is added to the roster. And once you're on the roster, then an email gets sent to you as a volunteer, identifying the exact location, any additional information you'll need for this particular harvest. It really sets you up for the harvest and what to expect.
Sounds pretty well thought out. So you've been doing it for some years now. Folks, if you just tuned in, you're listening to Waste Matters on the Air, KMUZ at 88.5 and 100.7 FM. I'm Alan Pennington, and I'm speaking with Elise Baughman, Executive Director of Salem Harvest. Also, KMUZ, where all Waste Matters on the Air show happen and live on its podcast, is having a fund drive to stay alive. As all community radio stations are, they have to find some way to survive. So if you'd like to find out about how to contribute to this fundraising effort by KMUZ, go to kmuz.org and you can make a pledge of support. So Elise, so all these people you've lined up to get them to come there. We're living, even though it's phase 1, how do you handle volunteers in the field knowing that there's other rules that you have to think about?
Oh, so many rules. You're so right. So we have some terms of participation for our volunteers, and you're asked to read and sign those every time you come out to harvest. We also, when you get on the roster and that additional information email gets sent to you, we remind you of the rules that are going to be happening out in the field and what to expect when you come out, all of those sort of things. We have quite a few new things related to COVID coming out, the 6 foot distancing, some face coverings, some, extra precautions with hand washing. They're all covered. And we're doing it for the safety of our volunteers. And then we also have the FSMA, the Food Safety Modernization Act regulations that we still have to keep in place for those foodborne illnesses as well. So there's lots of precautions, lots of information, especially in our terms of participation that's out there. We do our best to instruct folks before they come out what to expect. But when you get out there, you're going to be instructed on how and what to do when you come out. Expect to be there for about 2 hours. Then except for this year, it's kind of hard to describe, but I'm going to do my best here. In past years, we've just had, everybody can come out to whichever harvest they would like. It's just kind of a mixed age all along the way. This year, to help with the COVID response and the COVID-19 anti-spreading, we're going to break them down into some different groups. So this year we'll have a group called the seniors group, and you'll be 55 or plus to come out to harvest with that group. And then we'll have a standard group, which is 8 years and older, kind of that age group will come out at a time. And then we're going to have the young families group, and the young families are for those folks with the young small children, 8 and under, to come out and enjoy a time out in the field for fear of, interacting with the older folks. And, because just all the things we're reading about this new virus, we just really want to keep it in check and do what we can to protect our volunteers for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least sounds like this is a good time for you to mention, if somebody's interested in this, what website would they go to find out?
Yeah, you bet. SalemHarvest.org.
Oh my gosh, that's a good one.
I know, super easy.
Yeah. So much better. I like that. So this is it's a great model, and I think you've got some numbers there. How much did you guys harvest last year? You can pop that number off the top of your head.
You bet. 508,000 pounds. 508. No. Yes, 508,000 pounds. Sorry.
That's about right. Yeah.
500,000. There we go, Alan. Let's just round it off. 500,000 pounds.
That's a lot. That's a lot of produce. So
that is a lot. Yes.
That's amazing. So you've got this program, and it sounds to me like it's pretty successful.
Yeah.
And have you ever had to or you feel like you didn't get enough volunteers? Or do you get enough volunteers?
Typically we do have enough volunteers. Yeah, typically we do. This year we haven't even had our first harvest, unfortunately, this year, but I'm smelling strawberries as we speak. But yeah, this year might be different. I don't know. Every year I'm concerned, as the executive director, I'm always concerned, are we going to have enough crops to harvest? And then, on the other hand, are we going to have enough volunteers to harvest that? So it's always a game in my mind of making sure that we have the right balance. Mm-hmm. And even with our 500,000 pounds last year, I don't think we were ever like super low on volunteers. There might have been the 35th blueberry harvest or something might have been lacking on a few volunteers, but for the most part, I think we had plenty of volunteers. Yeah. But again, we never know, and people move and they change their lifestyle. They go back to work and different things. So if you're interested in what we're doing, for sure, jump on, sign up as a volunteer, and come on out and join us for sure.
That's super. So this sounds like a pretty successful organizational model. You're matching up volunteers, and you've got this organizations going, and you're saving all this food from going to waste. Is this a model that you guys followed from somebody else, or is it unique? Are there other parts of the country doing this as well?
Similar projects as ours is around the country. Goodness, I can't even speak. So very similar projects to ours, and we took our model from other organizations as well. There's lots of gleaning organizations out there doing what they can to harvest the food that's there, or go to the grocery store and take what's being left over, kind of that urban gleaning thing going on as well. Lots of opportunities out there around the nation. So yeah, no, we're not super unique, but the way the platform we're on and the way we move food and volunteers is a little unique. Cutting edge, other groups call us and ask how we're doing it, and we share information for sure. We've worked with we're working with probably about 10 or 12 different organizations around the country, as far as, our database and how you can get online and sign up and register and do all of those things online. And it keeps track of all of our numbers there as well. Dick Yates, who is on our board, helps out and does the technology for lots of these groups. But we have people from around the nation come and visit us sometimes and just do a harvest and see what we're up to and how they can take pieces or parts or whatever they like back to their group that will work for them.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds pretty successful. When other people are coming to look at you, that means you're doing a good job. I think.
I think so.
What do you think your biggest challenge is to overcome? What are you facing?
Our biggest challenges, staying informed and abreast of the latest regulations to protect our growers, volunteers, and the people who receive the food. Every year, I think I got it figured out. There's something else that comes down the line that we've got to figure out and put into the plan. That, and at times funding can be a bit of a challenge. However, I'm going to put a plug in right here. We had a very successful Matching May campaign where we had a $10,000 pool of money thanks to like Craig Klein and Dewey Witten and Salem Leadership Foundation. They pooled together $10,000, and then our volunteers and supporters of the community brought together and then another $10,000 in the month of May, and we matched that all up. So we're starting off very strong for us this year with $20,000 to get the season started. And so, yeah, funding at times can be a challenge, and we're figuring that out.
Well, I know in years past, for the listeners out there, we had you on a couple of years ago about the same time. Might even been in June.
I think it was.
And so it was a prelude to Race to Save the Harvest. It was an event you were holding and had been holding for some time, I think. And it was a fundraiser, it was a fun run at the park there. And of course, nobody's doing those kind of events this summer. So besides these, kind of one-off things, how else do you guys stay funded? Is it always just a last-minute check writing, or has it been, routine, scheduled annual events like Race to Save the Harvest?
It's been a mixture of stuff, Alan. We've got fundraisers that we do, like Race to Save the Harvest, and it is happening this year. I'm putting my plug in for that right now, too.
Oh, when's it going to happen?
It's happening between July 10th and July 20th. It's going to be virtual. And, with this whole thing, I'm looking for the opportunities. I'm seeking out and searching for the opportunities. So the thing about a virtual race is, you've got a window of time. So you don't have to run when it's hot. You don't have to run when it's rainy. And you can pick your own course. So if you want to pick your course to go downhill the whole way, you can do it.
I love it.
So we've got it up there. You can go to runsignup.com and / Race to Save the Harvest, or just search for Race to Save the Harvest on Run Sign Up, or jump on our webpage and find it as well. But yeah, a virtual race this year. We're not, we're hoping people join us and it'll be lots of fun. And then I'm sad too, because we won't have I Am a Blueberry down there from the Oregon Blueberry Commission joining us and starting our race and eating blueberries and all the fun stuff we usually do for Race to Save the Harvest. But
it'd be great if some folks did it with wearing their GoPro hats, and just
that's a great idea.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be fun.
Yeah. Tell them they get bonus points if they do that.
They totally should. Yeah, we are having a raffle. People can win raffle prizes by entering, and I think you're right. They should get like 6 raffle tickets or something fun like that if they send in their GoPro video. That would be fun, Alan. We need you on our committee.
There you go. So one of the things that we were talking about at the very beginning was like the chain of production. So you go from harvest to processing it, and then to marketing, and then basically to the consumer, where food is wasted because there's obviously lost stuff in the process. And you and I just talked about before the radio show began. We talked about a semi-load of strawberries that recently became because of an accident that lost its refrigeration and it went bad. So there's this totally lost But where do you think, and along the food chain where food is being, what are some other ways along that chain of loss? Because we lose, it's estimated that it's about 40 to 45% of the food that's produced in this country, farmed in this country, is lost.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I agree with that number full-heartedly, Alan. It's a lot of food is lost, and for lots of different reasons. Like you mentioned, a truck, accident turns over. One that I notice and I get up in arms about is not physical qualities. Like, for instance, cucumbers. We go and harvest so many cucumbers sometimes, just fields of them, because they got left because they didn't look right? The look of something. So they weren't long enough, or they were too long, or they were crooked, or they were yellow on the bottom, or they were too big around, or whatever, right? That doesn't mean it's not going to taste just as delicious as the next one, but it doesn't fit in the box. It doesn't look good on the grocery store shelves. Us as consumers going to the grocery store looking for that cucumber, we're trained, or whatever we are, to look for a certain quality, right? And then choose based upon what we see, instead of saying, that green pepper grew a funny little nose, or it's a little out of shape. But is anybody going to notice that when I cut it up? A huge thing last year was we harvested 100,000 pounds of watermelon. Yes, we grow watermelon in the valley. And they got rejected. The grower took in a load, and they were rejected at the grocery store because they scanned or x-rayed, or they figured out somehow that the watermelons they were bringing in had hollow heart. You couldn't see it from the outside, but somehow the grocery store people said, our consumers are not going to like to eat that watermelon because it's got a crack in the middle when you open it.
Oh.
I always thought that meant it was extra good and delicious and ripe. But no. So they brought home their load of watermelons, and then they didn't harvest from that field again. And we went and harvested the rest of that and shared that across Marion and Polk County and Lynn County and Lane County and wherever else we could take some watermelons. We had so many watermelons. They were most delicious. But yeah, you couldn't cut it into that perfect little wedge, but who cares? Cut it into melon wallet. I don't know, but it's so good. It's that, that's what upsets me. Are there other places where, waste is? Yes. Is there enough food in the planet to feed everybody if we didn't waste it? Yes, for sure. Sure.
Well, just a stat that's really instructive is the fact that it's when we do our waste audits here in Marion County, on the residential side, 24% of what's in our garbage is food. So that's an enormous amount. And on the commercial side, it's 29%. So basically a quarter or more of all the food that's in Marion County is getting, or at least in our garbage, is food waste that shouldn't be there. So that's a lot. That's a lot of waste. It's tragic when we're thinking about pounds and tons of how much that is. So we've got so many things to learn, so many ways that we can reduce this waste, especially when there are people without.
Correct.
So with that unhappy thought, I'm going to ask you, Elise, we need to come to an end here, but I just wondered, what last thoughts or words would you like to share? What did we not cover that you'd like to get in?
Not too much, Ellen. I think we covered the majority of it, other than I am so excited to get out into the fields and get my hands dirty. It's been a long winter, and I'm so ready for some sunshine.
And have you got something coming up this weekend?
I'm hoping not this weekend. Have you seen the forecast of that rain? I'm hoping that we can hold off till next week. That's all I'm going to say when it's sunny again. I'm seeing big rainstorm this weekend, so.
Oh, okay.
But right. I am smelling strawberries very soon, for sure. for sure.
Okay. Well, I hope you get some strawberries because everybody loves strawberries, and it's hard to think that some strawberries will be left in the field and not
I
harvested
know,
because it
especially
takes so much effort to grow those things.
especially these most delicious Oregon
Oh,
strawberries.
yeah. They're incredible. So I'd like to thank our guest, Elise Bauman, Executive Director for Salem Harvest, for sharing her time and knowledge with us today. If you need to get in touch with Elise or find out more about Salem Harvest, just go to salemharvest.org. Is that right, Elise?
That's correct, Ellen.
Correct. You've been listening to KMUZ, reaching parts of Marion, Polk, and Lynn counties via 88.5 FM and deep into Seoul Central Salem and Kaiser on 100.7 FM. So join me for our next show here on KMUZ on Thursday in 2 weeks, where at 1 o'clock, where we'll have another Waste Matters on the Air. And of course, all of our presentations, our podcast, as all of KMUZ's websites or webcasts turn into podcast and archived. So you can find them there. Or you can go to our mcrecycles.net webpage and find this show living on for the eternity. And as always, I'd love to hear from you. If you can email me at, you can send that to environmental services at, this is not a great email like what you've got, Elise. It's environmental services at co.marion.or.us. Or easier, just go to Facebook or YouTube and you'll find us. Okay. So just as an old Roman philosopher once chiseled, unless it's peace and quiet, if you don't need it, then don't buy it.